what's up? So today I want to talk about the worst mistake that you might be doing right now. The thing is, it's very easy to fix. I'll explain exactly in detail what you need to be aware of and how to sort it out. So the reality is that when we're studying a new instrument, whether it's guitar, piano, or voice, or a new craft,
Click that like button and subscribe.
we're trying to do that in the fastest and best way that we believe is possible for us. Now, a lot of times we'll accumulate information from the World Wide Web, Google. Now, that's awesome. There's no problem to it. Now, what happens, and I'm going to talk in general about music and more specifically about guitar, is that we'll do a bunch of these ideas, right? Whether it's arpeggios or scales, or if it's jazz related 2-5-1s and different fragments of the music. But now the point is, and this is something you all know and it makes total sense, but we definitely have to be aware and think about it, is that we get good at what we do. You know, if you want to be a great runner, you just need to run. Of course, it's a complex action, so you need to study and maybe you need to train and do things that complement that action. But in general, you need to do the action. If you want to be a great swimmer, you need to swim. If you want to be a great music reader or to read music well, you just need to read music. Of course, again, it's not as simple as that. If you spend 50 hours a week in the pool, you'll be the best swimmer. No, you definitely need to get advice, assess our situation, and then break it down to elements and figure out what we need to do. But, and that's the big but, we need to do the action. So again, if we're trying to play jazz or we're trying to be a singer-songwriter, we need to actually play the music. If we want to be a jazz guitar player and we want to play in a trio setting, the best idea is to actually try and play in that settings every day. Now, maybe that's a little much and not possible for everybody. That's fine. So maybe a few times a week. Maybe that's not possible. Okay, so how about we start with playing as if people are there, right? Maybe you play with a metronome or a -1 or anything, but imagine that you're playing with people.
Click that like button and subscribe.
So the point is, we're trying to put ourselves in a situation that we want to be in. We will get better and great at doing the craft if we do it enough. And of course, it's super important to learn scales and arpeggios and practice fragments of the music, whether it's composition or 2-5-1s or any fragments of the information that we're trying to deal with is super important to check out and practice. I'm not trying to eliminate that, but if we just transcribe solos and just practice scales, it would be much harder for us to improvise with people. So transcribing solos is super important. It's one of the basic elements how we learn the language of music, and whether it's blues, rock, jazz, we need to listen, imitate, and replicate it. But we also need to be in a situation where we actually create with the fragments, with the elements. What I'm saying is not stop practicing scales, but I'm saying practice scales in the context of the music. Make music. The number one priority when we're practicing is to make music. Now, of course, yes, it's great to be practicing with a metronome. It's great to be practicing with a click and subdividing and scales and fingering. It's all a part of the mechanism of the music. But we need to try at all times to do that in the context of music. So if we're trying to work on C major scale, great. How about we sing it a little bit? How about we put a draw on and play some lines? How about we improvise over 3 chords in C major scale? How about we loop a few chords and play with C major scale, but make music, not just an exercise? And again, exercises are super important and it's super great. Oh, can you pluck the like button and subscribe for me? Thanks. But let's make music. Now I want to talk a little bit more about jazz specifically. When we're trying to learn that style, first of all, we need to listen a lot to that style. So we're trying to surround ourselves with the music, with the language that we're trying to acquire. So if you want to learn jazz, it's a very good idea to check out bebop and the tradition, right? The roots of that style. So first of all, I would delete all your playlists and just like loop a few albums that are within the style, so you're observing that all the time. Now I know these days it's a little trickier because of the virus to go and see live shows, but go to YouTube, like spend half an hour a day, just like watch people play the music and try to like see what the guitar player is doing, listen, see the interaction, like try to be there. And in a couple of months when things are better, we can go and see shows. And then I would totally recommend trying to spend a night or two a week seeing live music, seeing the style that you want to acquire. Now, again, just think about it as a language. You just want to speak it all the time. I'm learning Dutch right now, so I'm trying to speak with people. So whenever I have a chance, I'm trying to make that happen. So there's something with jazz, right? We just want to try and surround ourselves with that style. Listen, think about it, imagine it. Of course, we need to practice guitar. We need to practice scales, triads, and map the fingerboard. No questions. But we want to put that in the context of the music. I would start doing these elements on a blues or simple standards like Autumn Leaves, All the Things You Are, these kind of songs, rhythm changes, so I can be aware of the changes, the form, zooming in, playing the triads, starting to play more chromatic stuff, and expressing the progression. Now we want to transcribe. We want to listen to the masters play the style, and we want to dig into that. Now, when I was transcribing a lot, I didn't really use in the beginning software like transcribe and slow down, softwares. And I think that's a mistake. I think this is something that some people look down upon, and this is just nonsense. I think it's super, super helpful to use transcribe or all the other elements that are in that world. Just a software, you can slow down sections, you can loop certain parts, make it clean and clear, and then continue. I don't know if some of you guys are trying to not use this software because you feel it's not correct. So just stop it. Just use the software, it's freaking great. Again, the idea is, if I'm saying a phrase in Hebrew, אז מה נשמע, אתם רוצים ללכת לים אחרי זה, לשתות איזה קפה? Now, that was in a language that most of you probably don't really know. So instead of just trying to play it back 100 times, a good idea would just slowing it down and saying like, ma, nishma, atem, right? Just breaking the elements down to a simple fragment that you can repeat, maybe you don't without understanding it, but then repeating and then seeing the context and understanding the elements. So the point is, please use these softwares of slowing down, because you just want to pluck that like button and subscribe. Zoom in and dive in when you're transcribing music. And that's, again, a super important and essential part of the music. When I work with people, I usually give them a solo every week to transcribe. When you're transcribing it, you need to make it happen. That means that it's not just like ish, it's really one-to-one. You can play with the recording one-to-one, and you can also play without the recording. So you just put a click on and play it. So it needs to be very accurate. The point of the solo, it's not necessarily to steal the lines, that's fine too, but it's more, in my perception, is to kind of hear the sound colors of all these tensions and understand the possibilities more than just like, oh, that's a cool line, let me steal that, which is also totally fine, it's great. But for me, I feel like a lot of times it's just being more sensitive to these colors and internalizing these sounds. Great, so we're practicing guitar, we're transcribing, we're listening to music, we're going to see live shows, and I would suggest also writing music. So even if you're not a singer-songwriter, I think doing that is a very essential part of progression, because while writing, you're kind of falling in love with the sounds. You're just like, wow, guitar is cool. And then you make choices of things that you think that sound good, or not. You're like, oh, this is awful, I like this, but I don't like this. You know what I mean? So the point is that like you're listening very carefully to the sounds and then making choices of things you like. And I think that's super, super important, because then the elements really stick and kind of becomes part of us. We need to do the action. We need to play the music, play it with people. So I would spend at least 40 or 50% of my time in creative mode. But again, the creative mode can be totally connected to the practicing elements. If you're trying to work on arpeggios, awesome. Just put it on all the things you are. If you're trying to practice bebop scale, great. Let's hear it on the blues or rhythm changes. So always have the song and context in mind. Right now I was talking again more about jazz, but this is exactly one-to-one in each one of the styles of music. You just need to do it. Pluck that like button and subscribe.